Hey guys, in this module, I want to walk you through a tool that we use called the low contact protocol. Now, sometimes the relationship has gotten to a place where every interaction it just goes bad, where there's a lot of resentment, where there's a lot of contention, where there's a lot of arguing, and to continue pushing for communication, it just makes things worse. It's kind of like if you had a wound and you kept picking at the scab, like it's never going to be able to heal. Sometimes we need to step back a little bit to give a little bit of space in the relationship to allow for that healing to happen. And you got to be careful though, because too little contact can cause some issues too. You don't want to create that separation to where you guys really fall apart, drift apart from each other. But you do want to give a little bit of space. So let's talk through what that low contact protocol looks like. The goal here is we want to reduce pressure. We want to lower the emotional intensity. Again, if there's a lot of resentment, there's a lot of contention, if it's just fighting and arguing all the time, that's when the low protocol process is really helpful. You want to take accountability for your growth. That's what this is about is giving some space so you can heal and grow. Really important is that this is not a tactic. It's not a strategy aimed at manipulating your partner. It's about creating emotional safety, building emotional maturity, and facilitating growth. It's really important because a lot of people are just looking for manipulation tactics. What can I do to win her back? I'm telling you, it's not about just winning her back because if you focus on manipulation in order to win her back, you're just going to lose her again. It has to be aimed at growing, at healing. The focus is on your own growth, not on winning your wife back. No contact, okay, where you just block them on everything, you don't talk to them at all. That's avoidant. That shuts down communication. That drives them away. Full contact is like poking a wound and doesn't allow for that healing growth. Low contact is that middle ground that allows for healing and growth while maintaining some level of communication. So the first step in going into this low contact protocol is we want to set clear expectations. Communication is so important, guys. We want to set those clear expectations so they don't think that you're just trying to play psychological games or that you're punishing them in some way. This shows emotional maturity. You're not doing it in a heavy or dramatic way. Fine, then I'm just not going to talk to you anymore. It's not that. You want to be honest. You want to be clear. It looks something like this. Hey, I really want to be upfront. I'm going to be taking a little bit of a step back from how often we talk. Not because I'm angry or because I'm trying to play some sort of psychological game, but because I've noticed some of the negative ways that I've been showing up. Okay, that's taking responsibility, ownership, accountability for your part. I've been reactive, judgmental, putting pressure on you. Got a lot of things that I want to work on, and I want to learn how to handle my emotions better and communicate in healthier ways. So, for a short amount of time, I'm going to take a little bit of a step back, but I want to let you know that I'm not cutting off contact and I still want to talk with you. Just want to make sure that I'm showing up in a healthier way. What are your thoughts on this? And once you've set that expectation and you've had a conversation around what that's going to actually look like, the next step is you got to follow through. Okay, if you say, "Hey, I'm stepping back," and then you text her 27 times in an hour, you're not following through. The goal of the follow through is you want to build that emotional maturity. It can be low contact can be extremely challenging. especially if you have an anxious attachment style. Pulling back and resisting that urge and fighting through and building the ability to find peace, that ability to resist that temptation to reach out, that helps you to build emotional maturity. You want to process your emotions, okay, not just respond out of reactivity. You want to give space for healing. You want to keep your conversations neutral, brief, and emotionally safe. We want to avoid guilt trips. We want to avoid pressure to talk. We want to avoid passive aggression. We want to avoid shutting down your feelings. Okay, this isn't about just stuffing everything down. We want to establish some other outlets. So when you have that desire, when you feel that just strong desire to reach out and connect, you need to have another outlet during that time. Prayer, right? We can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. Whew. It's be really, really hard. Leaning on God for strength. Journaling, just processing your thoughts, getting them down onto paper. Here's how I feel. We're gonna have some things to work on a little bit later, specifically, but journaling about how you feel. Talking with a coach, a therapist, or other godly men who can help lift you up in those times when you need to be lifted up. Before texting or calling or talking, ask, what is the purpose of this communication? Don't just reach out to soothe your own emotions or for emotional validation. Right? A lot of times guys will send a text, I love you, just because they want to hear their wife say, I love you back. Okay, check those intentions. Are you reaching out just because you want some sort of a response to help you feel better about you? Don't manufacture a reason to reach out. I see that all the time too. Oh, I got to let her know that, I walked the dog, or I got to let her know that whatever, right? It's easy to manufacture these reasons. Think about it. What's the purpose of this? None of the, hey, wait for a response. I love you, waiting for them to say, I love you back. Where are you? Who are you with? What are you doing? How are you doing? I miss you so much. Do you even care that we're not talking? Right? This is all just desperation, trying to get a response. You got to resist those temptations. Turn to prayer, turn to the journaling, turn to talking with somebody. So, what are some of the acceptable reasons to reach out? To show that you care. So, if they're sick, if they had a doctor's appointment, if they had some sort of a testing going on, there was some big thing, you want to show that you care. Hey, I'm just reaching out because I know you have that doctor's appointment today. I want you to know that I'm here if you need anything. And then I'll follow up afterwards, just see how it went. That's caring, letting them know that you care. Logistical, paying bills, planning events, things like that. Coordinating on, well, actually, that's in the next one. So saying things like, hey, I just want to make sure that we're all set for Johnny's birthday party. Did you need me to pick anything up at the store while I'm out? Shared responsibilities like kids, pets, household chores. Hey, I just want to make sure I'm not dropping the ball here. Did you need me to pick up Johnny from practice today? Make sure you're not manufacturing that. If you know that it's your day to pick him up, then pick him up. If you know that it's not your day, then trust her that she's going to pick him up. But if there truly is a question, ask. Tone is really important. Okay. You don't want to be too warm or flirty. You don't want to be overly robotic. or rude. No sarcasm, no emotional digs. It needs to be neutral, polite, grounded, friendly. Don't engage in emotional spirals. Okay, you don't want to get sucked into that. If they send something that triggers you, pause before you respond and ask yourself, is this worth responding to right now? Am I able to respond in a healthy and calm way? Am I responding out of responsibility or reactivity? Right? Is this something I really need to respond to? Or am I only responding because I want to because I'm reacting because I'm feeling those strong emotions? And if you need some time to ground yourself, respond with something like, "Hey, just want to let you know that I've received your message. I appreciate you sharing that with me. I want to make sure that I respond well, so I'm going to take some time to think about it." Okay, that way they're not sitting there on red going, "Why hasn't he responded yet?" Hey, I got your message. I want to make sure I respond well. I'm going to take a moment to think about that. You want to respond in an emotionally mature way. So acknowledge and validate their emotions. So something like, "Hey, I can see that you're really frustrated by this. It makes sense why you'd feel that way given the way that I've been treating you. I'm really frustrated with where we are too." All right. And then we want to use this time to work on you. Okay. Again, this is time for growth. It's time for healing. Okay. What you do during this time is really, really important. Because if you guys have gotten to this point, in order for you guys to have a healthy relationship, something has to change. You can't go back to the old way of doing things. And so you need to take advantage of this time where there's less contact to work on yourself because you want to show her that you're taking action towards becoming a better version of yourself, towards becoming more like that man that God created you to be, that man that she needs you to be, the man that your kids need you to be if you've got kids. It's not all about you. Hopefully she's doing the same thing during this period. But she needs to see that there's some hope in that you are actively working on yourself. If she's going to come back and be in a full relationship with you again, you've got to work on yourself and show that you're going to be showing up in new ways. Okay. So the goal here is you want to take radical responsibility for replacing the negative patterns with healthy patterns. So you want to explore things like, hey, how's your relationship with God? Because this battle is not just a battle of flesh and blood. There's this real spiritual battle going on. And if you're not in a really good place with God, you're not going to be able to fight that battle very well. You want to make sure that you're suiting up with the full armor of God every day. Prayer, scripture study, worship, fellowship, all super, super important. What are the negative patterns that need to be replaced with healthier patterns? Are you guys arguing a lot? Is there reactivity, people pleasing, conflict avoidance, emotional shutdown? So, what are all those negative patterns in your relationship that you need to work on? And then, what fears or insecurities have led to those negative patterns? Because those negative patterns come from a place of fear, they come from insecurities. What communication skills do you need to develop? Communication is how we resolve conflict. Communication is how we rebuild and restore the relationship. Communication is how we restore that emotional connection and emotional safety. So, in what ways do you need to improve your communication skills? How do you respond to stress, triggers, and conflict? Where have you fallen short in terms of meeting your wife's needs? Have you lost your identity in the relationship? Sometimes we put our spouse on a pedestal. Sometimes we idolize them. And in the process, we lose ourselves. What did you love doing that you stopped doing? Who are you when you're not performing for her? You see, she married you. She decided to be in a relationship with you for who you were. And if you've given up those things and now you're no longer the man that she married, that could be part of the problem. Maybe you need to reconnect with yourself. All right. And then we want to embrace feedback. Feedback accelerates the growth. We need to eliminate the defensiveness because if we've got those walls up, we're not going to be able to take that feedback in. We need to show them that you're listening, that you're taking action. Again, relationships are co created. Very rarely is it 100% somebody's fault. It usually relationship issues are a combination of things that both of you guys have done and not done. We start with the concept of remove the log from your eye first so that you can help remove the speck from their eye. Okay, so it starts with you first. That's why the focus is there. Okay, but once you've made some progress, once you've focused on working on removing that log from your eye, then you can begin to give her feedback. And you'll be in a much better position to give her feedback after she's seen some progress on your end, right? But if you're not doing your part and you're just putting the blame on her and you're just saying, if you would just stop doing this and start doing that, and you haven't looked at the log in your own eye, there you have no ground to stand on. And so you've got to start with you first. When you receive that feedback, when she's giving you feedback, don't respond defensively. Recognize that they are hurt and they might not be expressing the feedback in a way that's easy to accept. And a lot of times that feedback, especially if there's a lot of resentment and hurt in the relationship, that feedback comes across really harsh. You're going to have to try to separate the emotions from what she's actually telling you. And ask yourself, is there some truth to what they're saying? Is there something here that I need to work on? What's the deeper need? Because a lot of times that surface level thing, like clothes left on the floor, that's not the problem. The deeper need is they need to feel appreciated. They need to feel respected. They need to feel like they matter. And when you just leave your clothes on the floor, it's a sign to them that maybe you don't respect them. So what's that deeper need? Listen not just to their words, try to listen to her heart. And then ask, what specifically can I do to grow based on this feedback? All right, you watched a video. Good job. If you watched a video on how to ride a bike, would you know how to ride a bike? No, you got to get on the bike. If you want to actually be able to apply these things and get some true learning and growth from this, you've got to take action. So here's your tasking. Start off by setting clear expectations. Okay, so what are you trying to achieve during this low contact period? What do you want to avoid during this period? What specifically are you going to work on during this period? What are the implementation details? Things like, what are you going to be doing less of? Texting, calling. What are the acceptable reasons to communicate? Coordinating with the kids, dealing with shared responsibilities, reaching out to care. How long are you committing to this? Right? Is it going to be for a week, Hey, let's do this for a week and then just check in and see how it's going. Maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's a whole month. How much time do you need? Once you've answered all those questions above, put it all together and have that conversation with your wife. Don't forget to ask them what they think. Get some feedback from them too. That shows that you're open to listening. Then you got to follow through. Super important. What outlets are you going to use when you really want to reach out to her? Prayer, scriptures, exercising, journaling, friends, family, talking with the therapist or coach, working on projects and hobbies. Keeping yourself busy can be helpful. But don't just keep yourself busy. Remember, we got to focus on growth. We got to focus on healing. Stick to your plan. Don't engage in those emotional spirals. And then during this time, you're going to be working on yourself. Again, she needs to see that there's some change going on before she's going to want to re-enter into that full relationship with you again. She wants to know that there's some hope that the future is going to be different than the past that has led you to where you are today. So ask, how have you contributed to where we're at in the relationship? What negative patterns do you need to replace? What tools and skills do you need to develop? Who are you outside of the relationship? Like maybe you've lost your identity. Who am I? Select one or two specific things to work on during this time. That's really important because there's a million different things that you can work on. What's one or two really important things? And I can tell you, communication probably should be on that list. And then breaking unhealthy patterns, negative patterns should be on that list. But specific patterns, specific communication skills. Identify the resources to facilitate your growth. Okay. Working with therapists, working with a coach, the Unwavering Husband course. What are you going to use to help you to grow? Books. There's a ton, there's a million of books out there. Focus on your growth daily. Not just learning, but action too. Okay. It can be really easy to get caught in this trap of, I'm just going to read one more book. I'm just going to read one more book. I'm just going to watch one more video. And that can be an endless cycle. But again, if you watch videos and you read books about riding bikes, will you know how to ride a bike? No, you got to take action. She needs to see action. If you go to her and you say, hey, I watched a video today on relationships, she's going to go, great. How's that change anything? She doesn't care how many videos you've watched or how many books that you've read. What she cares about is action. You're showing up in new ways. And hopefully she's doing the same thing. You want to embrace the feedback, and feedback accelerates the growth. So create a list of things that she's been asking you to work on, right? Maybe it's the communication. Maybe it's your anger. Maybe it's, I don't know, people pleasing. But what are those things? Maybe it's following through. That's a very common one for men. Is they ask us to do something and we never follow through with it, or we do it for a period of time and then we fall away from it. Continue to build that list as you receive additional feedback. Like actually write these things down. Prioritize that list based on urgency because that list might be really long. Okay, but what are the one or two things that you can focus on that will have the biggest impact? Don't react defensively to the feedback. Okay, she's trying to give you what you need. She might not be laying it out in very kind ways. It might be really difficult to hear. But remember, she's trying to help you to show up in the ways that you need to show up. Accept the feedback, process it, decide what to do with it, and they commit to taking daily action. All right, guys, this is the low contact protocol. Again, this is for situations where there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of, just negativity, resentment. Every time you guys interact, it just turns into a fight. If you guys are at that stage, continuing on with full contact is only going to make things worse. You don't want to pull back and do no contact because that's just going to drive her apart. We want to maintain some level of contact. And a big reason for that is because one of the things you should be working on during this time is communication and how you're responding. And in that communication is how she's going to start to notice that there's some change. And if there's zero contact, and I know that some guys are in a situation where there's a protective order in place and there's no contact at all, it's really, really tough to show the change. The best thing you can do in that scenario is continue working on yourself so that when that protective order is lifted, you've made progress and they can see that. But in this case, where you can have the low contact, continue working on yourself and know that that communication that is between you guys is an opportunity to show her that you're showing up in new ways. All right, guys, get to work on this. God bless.